Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of Kaiju number 8. Last time we had an all-out Hoshina versus Kaiju battle. So epic in every way. 3 straight chapters, I believe, if I remember correctly. And Kafka is on his way to back up the vice captain because, yeah, he's having a hard time. That is until Mina showed up and blasted away the Kaiju and left a big mark. So is this the end? We don't know. We'll soon find out. But at least Kafka doesn't have to transform. So let's not waste time and let's get reading. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, chapter 31. The headless kaiju stumbled about, crashing into buildings and making debris fall over the place. It struggled to regenerate in any way, shape, or form as Mina left her mark. Kikuru watched on in shock. Hoshina smiled with glee as the kaiju fell down onto the ground and lay dead. Okanogi said, "Oh, Captain Ashiro, Vice Captain Hoshina and Private Shinomiya have taken down the Honjo! Hooray!" The crowd cheered out as Mina does her flashy model pose as her hair flows like a Pantene commercial and caught the attention of Kafka as they both looked at each other. His eyes welled up and was just very happy. Reno called spoke over the intercom. "Incredible as always, isn't she? Captain Ashiro, that is." "Yeah," he said, wiping his tears. "I knew I was right all along. This is what I've wanted to be ever since I was a kid. An officer." He watched as the captain approached Hoshina and Kikoru, tending to each other. "One of them. They're just so friggin' awesome." Yet, as each of them saluted each other, tears fell down his face and snot poured out of his nose as he imagined himself saluting the three of them. "I want to be in that circle one day, too." "You're making quite the ugly face, sir," Reno said as Kafka freaked out. "How would you know? You can't even see me." "I can picture it." "Listen, bucko," Kafka said as Reno listened on. "I don't appreciate your dry wit during my tearful emotional moments. Leave me with my tears." Things have only just begun, senpai." "Oh." "Let's do our best to catch up." Yeah, let's." He watched on as the captain saluted her subordinates. "I gotta say, the captain and I will wipe out the Yoju. You go get some rest, Kikoru." And Mina immediately chopped him on the back of his head. "No, you rested too. You're quite tired." "Even if we did run into some Yoju stragglers, you'd be in a condition to fight." "Well, Masuda is all quite banged up, I'd say. I'd probably just drag you down too." "Oh, well, no fighting it. I suppose I'll take you up on that offer and rest up." And that's when Hoshina saw high above the sky a giant blob of pustules and pustules with beaks jutting out from each end like buttholes, like buttholes clenching tight from shock. Kikoru and Mina turned around and saw what was happening, and they couldn't believe it. "What, the devil's testicle?" Hoshina said. "Ah, what is that?" Kikoru screamed out. "It's a giant super bomb! It's a Yoju bomb!" Okanogi screamed from the intercom, and Hoshina remembered what the kaiju did. "That screech into the sky earlier, you mean that wasn't its death rattle? It was evolving like a Pokemon?" "Fall back, all troops are fall back," Mina said over the intercom. "Okanogi, get the magazine to gate 83 in." "No," Hoshina thought to himself. "We're not gonna make it in time. What we do, we're all gonna end up going to hell and facing the devil himself. If that thing falls, it's taking us in the base with it, and probably the whole dang city." And that's when he heard the Yoju scream out, "Hey, human!" It smiled at him with its light aimed right at him.
Looks like this game is a draw. I'm gonna enjoy watching you all squirm. Ha ha ha!
And that's when Kafka just ran from out of nowhere, catching everyone off guard. They couldn't believe how fast he ran. Each and every one of them watching on. Hey, Kafka, get your butt back here, boy. You going out there won't help one damn bit. That is a direct order, son. And that's when Kafka started slowly transforming and caught Hoshina's attention. Oh, wait a second. The vice captain thought to himself, how did he get so fast? Someone with 1% leash combat power shouldn't be able to move like that. That makes absolutely no sense, son. And Kafka jumped right off the roof as he started remembering the captain, Hoshina and Mina's words. No, I do have at least 1% faith in you.
Hoshina is the one who pushed you to be the general officer.
And as Kafka floated down to the street below, he said to himself, I'm sorry, Vice Captain Hoshina. And he transformed into Kaiju number 8. Pumped, flexing muscles, stretching all of his limbs, electricity flowing through him, the pressure built up underneath the full moon sky. And that's when Okanogi screamed out, Super Giant Kaiju reading detected in the center of the buzz. Fortitude is 9.9. This reading. And all of them looked from the rooftop and saw who stood in the street below as Kafka stared up at the giant butt pus growing bigger and bigger. It's Kaiju number 8! To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, Chapter 32. Okanogi screamed out from base, This reading, it's Kaiju number 8! Hoshina, with his mouth agape in horror, thought to himself, I always felt something was off without that boy, but even so, I found myself taken in by his charm. Dang it. I never realized he'd be the devil's toe jam. He never looked like it. Part of me was turning a blind eye to the possibility. Maybe because I wanted to believe in that boy, have faith in him. I definitely had faith in him. Like he was an angel in the mist. He watched on as Kafka stared at the butt pus with its beaks sticking out, chirping away, ready to strike. Mina, completely horrified that her childhood friend was a kaiju, struggled to move, struggled to say anything, struggled to do anything. As Reno screamed out from the intercom, Senpai, do you have any idea what you're doing? To which Kikuru thought to herself, the fucking monster. If something that huge explodes, it'll kill almost every officer here, and probably half the city. And that's when Kafka spoke, as his engine parts started opening up from his limbs.
The vice captain put his body on the line to fight, so I can't just keep sitting on the sidelines.
Electricity formed all throughout his body.
To save my own skin.
He stretched his arm back. He squatted, pushed his right leg down. So far down, it created a crater that stretched across the whole entire area and caused buildings to shatter and collapse. The earthquake made Kikuru stumble. Hoshina stepped back to prevent from falling over. And that's when Kafka launched himself up into the air. He wound his fist back. He stretched it as far as he could. He felt the force of the energy building up from behind him, and then suddenly, one punch delivered right into the butthole of the pus that's of the kaiju pus, ready to explode. He cracked his face cracked a bit. Blood splurted out of his skin. His eyes were shocked. Reno was shocked. Everyone was shocked as the whole entire Yoju bomb bent inward, looking like a swimming cap. Everyone was horrified. Nobody knew what to say. Hoshina's mouth was gaped open. Kikuru's mouth was gaped open. Iharu's mouth was gaped open. Reno, however, gritted his teeth and kept his mouth closed. But the kaiju that Hoshina fought, that was laughing and giggling, all he could say was,
Huh?
and that's when everybody witnessed as Kafka landed right back down and scared everybody. And Mina screamed out through the intercom,
All the troops hit the deck, max it to shields.
and as the whole entire swimming kaiju bomb floated up high into the sky, it exploded, splitting the clouds into multiple directions. The shockwave started raining down at everybody, and everyone dropped to the ground quickly and started covering their faces, except for Kafka, who just stood there looking all awesome, not even doing a JoJo pose because he's that epic. As all the buildings were shredded to pieces and reduced to rubble. But all he could do was just stand in horror, because he knew what was about to happen. As all the debris began to settle down, Mina looked up at him with daggered eyes.
That the thing,
she thought to herself,
is Kafka.
And as the debris settled down and the explosion dissipated, Kafka just stood there, looking up at the sky, knowing what has happened.
Oh man, I screwed up this time. My arms and legs are shot. I can't even escape.
One of the soldiers that was sitting behind him, with sweat pouring out of his brow, hesitated to do something.
I ought to know better at my age. I pushed myself too far.
He looked down with sadness in his eyes.
Sorry, Ichikawa.
He thought to himself as Reno hurried over.
Forgive me, Kikuru.
She sat down on her knees, looking down, knowing that it's all over. And Mina stood right behind him, very quietly, not even making a single move. She called out his name.
Kafka Hibeno.
Her eyes were veiled under the locks of her hair. Her hands curled into a fist and shivered hard. And she made the tough decision as she unholstered her gun and aimed it right at him.
No, Kaiju number 8.
She aimed it right at his head. As he looked back at her, and all the Sniffits had all their rifles in sight, and Hoshina looked away, not saying a single word.
I'm taking you into custody.
And with Kafka's human eye looking at her, he did not say a single word, and only expressed sadness from it. To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, chapter 33. Video footage of Kafka staring out, just standing there staring out, was viewed by the top brass. They all had convened at the meeting and started addressing the issue. Kaiju number 8. I never would have dreamed the Kaiju had infiltrated the Defense Force. Let alone the Kaiju clash. We must deal with him ASAP. What do we tell the press? Said one guy. The eye patch dude replied, we ought to keep this under wraps as we did with Kaiju number 9. I also hear a certain country is experimenting with Kaiju to human tissue transplants. They would insist on having a say in this. Would that country be the United States? Shh, we do not talk these things. Well, we should quickly dispose... Oh, this is the bald guy. Oh yeah, I like the bald guy. We should quickly dispose of him in secret and convert him into weaponry. Shouldn't we consider using him as a biological weapon? The glasses man replied to the bald man. This desktop product... Ah, Ugh, this desktop operator is getting us nowhere. Which caught the attention of the bald guy. Action will come after we take him in. And standing at the end of the table was Kikoru's father, Isao Shinomiya, Director General of the Defense Force. I'm ordering the 3rd Division to hand Kaiju number 8 over to us before the US decide to take them in. And sitting inside the chamber was Kafka, locked in tight by bolts, with his arms behind his back, handcuffed. He kept his head down. He felt shame. He didn't know what to do or what to say. Meanwhile, inside the control room, the scientists are monitoring Kafka's vitals as Hoshino watched on with his wounds tended to and bandaged. Kaiju number 8's vitals are stable, the analysis said, showing no signs of transformation. Hoshino opened his eyes, looking right at Kafka directly, conflicted in what he wants to do. He doesn't know. He sees in Kafka's eyes sadness and shame. As Kafka thought to himself, has a full day passed already? What's going to happen to me now? He remembered what Kikoru told him back at the cafe.
Nearly all the powerful kaiju are used as parts for special weapons. Worst case, you might suffer the same fate.
He lowered his head with sweat pouring down, knowing he's going to end up becoming weapons. Just when I thought I'd finally gotten one step closer to being by her side, he looked up at the ceiling. I wonder if Mina's mad at me.
It's a time,
Mina said as the door opened very slowly, and she stepped in with a pair of sniffets flanking her, with their guns drawn right at him. She looked him right in the eyes and said,
You're being transferred to HQ's facilities.
Kafka was shocked. He immediately screamed out, Hey, beat, and he paused for a second, because she remained completely silent as the sniffets unshackled him, but kept his handcuffs on. With guns pointed at him, they kept pushing him and poking at him as he followed her along. He thought to himself, Yeah, I figured. I have been keeping one hell of a secret from her, and given her position, no doubt she's taking the blame too. I have truly failed my friend. And when he looked up, he found himself outside the barracks, with all the sniffets and soldiers masked up with rifles aimed right at him. Yeah, let's see. What is it? Is that Itakura? Crap, I can't. She's got a mask on. Well, anyway.
Security detail for the trip is already marked.
And there was Reno and Iharu and Kikoru with their rifles up and masks on. Crap, I can't look them in the eyes. I wound up betraying Ichikawa too. He's been looking out for me this whole time. I bet he can't forgive me for what I've done. And Kafka started walking past the entire crowd, very quietly. He looked up at the sky and thought to himself, I'm sorry. This time it really is the end for...
Senpai!
Reno screamed out.
I have faith that you'll come back.
Huh? He was shocked when he heard that. And the door shuttered and the transport moved on. He looked out at the doors with eyes wide open. He couldn't believe it. Ichi. And Mina interrupted him.
That damn Ichikawa. He'll get 50 push-ups for his unauthorized outburst.
Mina?
When he dashed in to save the base without a moment's hesitation.
She refused to look back at him and continued on.
I was shocked to see you as a kaiju, but I also thought, this is such a Kafka move. We have testimony and footage to vouch for you. If we can prove that you're human, there's a chance you can escape disposal. We're also going to report all of your deeds as an officer as well.
He was completely shocked at what he was hearing. He was expecting a shonen-style backlash where she would curse him out, slap him, get all in tears. Instead, she was anti-shonen because she realized this is seinen, and seinen don't act dumb.
In the third division, not a single person considers you a child threat.
And he was surprised as she looked him right in the eyes with that remark. But she turned her back on him one more time and gave an order.
It's a time. Sit.
And he did. He sat down and she pulled out a report.
Kafka Hebeno. Based on the Article 13 of the Defense Force Regulations, we are transferring you to the Ariake Maritime Base. To ensure citizen safety on the way, we have...
Mina, he interrupted, and she looked up at him. Can I still strive for a place by your side? He tried to resist crying and resist the welling of his tears. She sat down very quietly and collected her thoughts. Then she looked at him with gentle eyes, the eyes of a friend.
Sure, I'll be waiting.
Then he bent down, and tears fell down off his nose. At Koto War, Tokyo Defense Force Ariake Maritime Base, all modernized and advanced. The bulkheads from 23 to 31 were sealed, as Kafka was placed in the middle of an entire chamber. Locks are in proper order. Kaiju number 8 is now contained. He is back in the seat once more, completely locked into place, and wires connected to the chair, monitoring all of his vitals, all of his physicality and strength. And Kafka had a whole new resolve, knowing that he is not alone. To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. This was precisely the way it should work. 9 times out of 10 when it comes to manga, writers always fall into the trap of when the hero reveals himself, everyone hates him, everyone feels betrayed, but not here. Good on Matsumoto-san for not falling into that trap. It happens. It can happen. You know what I'm saying? But it happens way too often, and it does make characters look stupid and feel stupid at times when not done properly. Because it can't be done properly if you have the context to back it up and everything. But sometimes there is no context, and that whole entire spin, can just come out of nowhere. A good example, one that I saw with my own 2 eyes, from my perspective, was Lelouch. When he was revealed to be Lelouch, when Lelouch was revealed, all of a sudden everybody he worked with was like, "You betrayed us! You betrayed us!" Oh! It's like, are you serious? I mean, this is the same guy that saved your asses here, and now all of a sudden you know what I mean? Like it's sometimes it goes out of nowhere. It comes from out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And this was a good fresh breath of fresh air. Seeing the end result. There wasn't much to this. It was all just setting up the whole entire scenario, and then we get to witness awesomeness. As you can see, Kafka here in tears because this is what he wants. You know what I'm saying? He wants to be with them. He wants to be with the 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? Saluting each other, all that cool stuff. You know what I mean? He wants to be the top. He wants to be on the top. Basically, he wants to be on the top with Mina, kicking butt, delivering high-powered stuff and everything. And honestly, it's not... the way that this is working out makes 100% sense. You know what I mean? Like, the Japan Defense Force has been dealing with kaiju for far too long, and it is perfectly natural to have the distrust, to have all the distrust and everything. But when something like what Kafka has done, you know what I mean? When logically speaking, you gotta ask the question, he had every opportunity to take us out with that power level. Why has he not done so? You know what I mean? Common sense prevailed. and that's what makes this such a great story so far. Still gotta get further in. Still gotta get further in, but they had a good little happy moment until this thing popped up, and um, yeah, it's ready to blow. It's pretty gruesome the way this was designed because it looks like a whole bunch of nipple buttholes here. Somebody get a proctologist on that. There's a big hemorrhoid happening here. Oh man, but yeah, Kafka with one of the most with a very impressive splash shot here with the full moon and everything. Like this is so heroic looking. This is very heroic looking. I like that. A heroic sacrifice, if you will, because he knows what the consequences are going to be. Kiku warned him hard, and Reno has been not only backing him up, but doing everything he can to keep him from doing this. But Kafka, took great responsibility as a hero, a superhero, and valued the lives of everybody in that base over his life as a kaiju. You know, that's heroism. That's heroism, and that's something that when you create as a writer, when you write something like that, a character that does something like that, the answer should not be kill him. Saying like Mina saying I hate you forever and so on. No, it should be some characters should have common sense. Some of them should also have distrust, which is fair. But you can't just have everybody saying I distrust you. You gotta have a group that says that says, well, hold on. He just threw himself under the bus. He exposed himself to save our lives. We are alive thanks to him. We need to take some consideration, to that fact. Maybe there's something more to the kaiju than meets the eye, and we need to figure this out. You know what I mean? So both sides of the argument are properly justified. What I'm saying, regarding Kafka's context, and it was very well done, very put on display in terms of writing. But all too often, we get that, especially in shonen and a lot of manga and anime. But yeah, Kafka really just shows the level of power on display here. Like for example, when he presses down so he can launch himself into the air, like he just completely leveled that whole entire 3 block radius there. That is a 3 block radius, right? Yeah, it's about a 2 block radius. Well, it's a 1 block radius. It's a radius. It's a radius, and he completely crumbled the whole area just so he can jump with enough power and force to be able to punch that big giant thing completely. Like, look at what he did here. He one punch man that thing. Like, that's freaking insane. That's his power, 9.8. It even shocked the kaiju, the Honju right here. He's like, huh? He's got that. Even the sniffets are shocked. Look at the sniffet is all horrified and everything. Oh my god. Oh man. Mm-mm-mm. But yeah, if you're gonna have a hero moment, you've got to you got to be able to make sure that you have two sides of the argument on equal footing. You can't just suddenly have everybody pull a 180. You know what I mean? Because then you waste moments like this. This is such an epic moment here. He's just standing there as the debris and shockwaves just flashing around while everybody's covering themselves so they don't get killed from collateral. It's pretty cool. The art is just solid. And Mina of course raised her gun. Because she had to do it. She had to do it. It's her obligation and duty to detain him, especially and rightfully so. She doesn't know if he's under the influence of kaiju or if he is, or if the she has to do her job. She has to do her job, but because of the way Kafka has shown, she knows Kafka very well. We get to see the avant-garde here, the big brass. The deciding what to do. They want to turn him into and everything. but they're justified. I don't find anything that they're saying off-putting or anything. It is 100% justified. You know what I mean? That's what's so great about this. Normally when you see the brass like that, most writers, forget, they come off a little too hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they make them come off a little too unreasonable because you don't provide enough context and world build to be able to justify, the way they're acting. The way that they're acting, what they're saying, everything is 100% justified. Because it doesn't matter if he did all the heroism, he is still a kaiju, and their job is to destroy kaiju. And he is an anomaly, and you don't know, from their point of view, if Kafka's under the influence, if he was replaced, which would be even more scarier, that they can replace people, which, of course, we've seen what Kaiju number 9 did. Kaiju number 9 can replace humans. Saying they're in the dark, and it shows. It's very important to remember when you're writing that characters do not have the insight of meta. Okay, characters are not meta within the context of their own world. They don't have advanced knowledge like the writer, does, or even the viewers, because of the piecemeal information, and foreshadowing we feed to them. These characters are not supposed to know, except what is presented to them. And for this top brass here, what is presented to them is that this is a kaiju who's a 9.8. And just sent a gigantic kaiju the size of a freaking city into the sky on one punch, and it exploded in the sky, and leveled a city block just to do all of that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't find them off-putting or anything. Sometimes when you see the brass, they get written so poorly because the context doesn't solidify that, when you hear them talk like this, you're like, oh gosh, they're such a-holes. But here, they're not really being a-holes. This is their job. And it makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? They're not being unreasonable. That is a proper instinct to have when you discover something like this, and knowing that Kaiju number 9 did what it did. You know what I'm saying? How can you trust number 8? You know what I'm saying? And they don't have insight into him the way Mina has insight, or Hoshina's and Kikoru's limited experiences with him, because they've only had him for a couple of months compared to Mina, who had him for years, and Reno had him just a little longer than Kikoru and Hoshina. You know what I mean? Mina is basically his key link, because Kikoru's dad is ready to do some serious damage. He's clearly ready for this one. He's like, I'm going to have a field day with this. But this was good writing. This was very good writing. This is the way you have to write. This is the way you got to write, top brass and characters like this. You gotta allow characters to see all sides, of the situation. You can't lean them into just one single side, because then you have nothing but idiots. Idiots that forget the little things. Like, for example, Kafka saving a whole entire base full of hundreds of personnel, maybe thousands of personnel, and probably a city that could have gotten hit by the collateral, the extended collateral, And it's great, and it's still fair to show conflicting faces like Hoshina's face here. It is fair. You gotta, show that there's still conflict within. It's like, he's a kaiju, but he saved my life. How do I feel about this? How do I do? You know what I mean? And it's pretty good. You know what I'm saying? The expressions are pretty good. These guys don't really care. They're just doing their jobs. That's perfectly normal. But, when you have those who are very close, there should be some clout. They should not just be automatically like, you betrayed me. I hate you. I hate you. I'm going to make sure I kill. That's dumb. That's stupid. You got to let them go through the motions. You got to let them go through the feelings. And then, as a writer, you could decide, set the fork in the road up. You know what I'm saying? You see Hoshina's face. So he's conflicted. So you're developing a fork in the road, and you as the writer can go in any direction. You know what I'm saying? As long as you establish the fork in the road with all the context in place, whichever direction you make will make sense. Because because as long as you show the expression of conflict, you know what I'm saying, then you put the character in a position of a decision. And in Hoshina's case, he's got two decisions. Either he fights Kafka all out, like he hates him, You know what I'm saying? And could sit there and say, I have, I've been going through all these emotions. You know what I mean? Like he can really express it. Or he could go in the other direction and say, I'm gonna give you this chance, Kafka. If you screw up, I will kill you. If you screw this up, if you turn south, if you end up becoming one of them, I will kill you. But I'm going to give you this one chance and this one and only chance because you have saved my life. You saved everyone's life. And you have shown zero intent of malice or murder or anything. You know what I'm saying? When you establish that on the road and you create the fork, then you as the writer are then free to go in any direction because either direction will make sense. But before you even to make like Mina or Hoshina just go full 180, you betrayed me, I'm gonna kill you, without first establishing what they're feeling and everything, creates weak writing. Like, it really creates very weak writing. You don't want the sudden pivot. You wanna try and ease it in because you want the viewers to understand. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you don't convey and clarify the situation, viewers will get confused and they'll think, oh, you just suddenly turn on him after he just saved you. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that all angles are covered and the readers, the viewers understand the totality of the situation and thus can understand where the character's motivations, and it makes all the characters interesting. Characters will be real interesting after that. You know what I'm saying? And you as the writer will be free to pick whichever path, because if you can make both paths the correct path, viewers will understand, both sides of the paths, and they'll still enjoy the character, whichever way you go with it. So to go back to like Hoshina, if you you establish his conflict, his feelings of conflict, and you can pick whichever path you want, viewers will be okay with it. They'll be like, yeah, I get where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? I get where he's coming from this angle, or I get where he's coming from that angle. You know what I mean? And it just it makes characters more interesting when you do that. So you gotta be very careful when you're writing such a situation like this. See, because look at, our first instincts, because of the way sometimes this trope pans out. Oh, you betrayed me trope. You know what I'm saying? This is the whole setup here. You know what I mean? Like, Mina is like, you can see in the expression of her face, she's ready to say, you betrayed me. You were my friend all these years and you've been like this. How dare you? Slap, slap, tears on the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm going to kill you, kind of thing. Just do that so suddenly. It's just, kind of ruins the character, especially after establishing that Mina, is not that type of character. You know what I'm saying? It always results in derailment of characters because it makes them out of characters. What I'm trying to say. You want to be careful not to pivot them too much that they go out of character. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, but yeah, ultimately, because of this very well done setup with everybody, we find that Mina and the whole entire third division got his back, and they're gonna do everything they can to let him know. And this is also now adds another dynamic because of their personal experiences as opposed to the top brass who weren't out there in the field to see it happen. You know what I mean? Now there's two conflicts. Everybody still knows their duty. Their duty is to kill the kaiju, but they see Kafka as the exception to the rule. But the top brass don't see that because their job is to kill the kaiju no matter what. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. So now it falls on Kafka to try and convince the top brass that he's nothing like that. That he didn't fall under the influence of the kaiju. That he's not going to, turn on them and everything. It's not easy. It's not going to be an easy task. Beautiful drawing of Mina. You could see that she has caring eyes for him. You can see that she still believes. That's the type of thing you want to have. You know what I mean? You gotta really, like, it's not really that difficult. It's just don't jump so quickly to start having people hating on the main character. Just don't jump too quickly. Just work it in. If you work it in, work it in nicely, you know what I mean? Then the viewers, your readers, will will understand the characters, and whatever decision you decide to go with as a writer, they'll go with it. They'll go with it, and they'll follow along because now the interest is there. So yeah, you know, very. This was personally for me. This was these were the chapters. Especially this particular chapter, number 33, that really elevated and heightened my interest further into Kaiju number 8. Like, I was already interested in enjoying it, but in terms of like going full on dedicated, it elevated up because Mina and the third division, even well, we still haven't seen Hoshina yet, but the point is that Mina and the third division didn't just suddenly be like, I hate you forever, we're gonna get revenge on you and everything. You know what I'm saying? They didn't go in that direction. You know what I mean? And then just leave only Kikoru and Reno to be the only ones that will protect them. No. They didn't go into that. This was a great move, and it really elevated my joy. You know what I'm saying? It elevated my joy because now I'm rooting for the entire third division. I'm rooting for Mina and the entire third division. To do everything they can to make sure Kafka comes back to them, whether freed of the kaiju or as kaiju number 8. It'll be an epic turn. So that's it. We're coming down to the last 5 chapters. Next time is a jumbo size edition for the season finale. We'll be catching up to season 1 anime, and we'll be done until season 2 happens, or something else. We'll see what happens on the channel here, because changes are coming. Changes are coming to this channel. So we'll see what happens and play it by ear. But we will finish up and catch up to season 1 anime of Kaiju number 8. So yeah. Comment, like, subscribe, follow. You know you want to. And head on over to Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man, a strange fantasy novel written by me. You'll find the link to the book down in the description below. I look forward to seeing y'all purchasing the book and making YouTube videos out of it. Please, by all means, do so. Character studies, lore videos, iceberg videos, whatever you want to do with it. Have fun. I look forward to seeing those. And you'll find links to other merch such as pins, stickers, t-shirts, and music. Please enjoy the products. Thank you for your patronage. And if you're interested, you can join me on my live multi-stream on Twitch and Kick every Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, until the season 1 manga finale, jumbo size edition, I thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, a buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.